I started with a very intensive MBA. I had to do 17 courses in 2 semesters.
You just have to laugh.
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but it was very challenging. Also, a lot of challenges of integrating to the new culture here as well.
Hey you! Welcome to the Mind the Gap podcast. This show is created by immigrants for immigrants, and it's all about the career journeys that shape our lives, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Each episode, we bring you inspiring stories from immigrants of all backgrounds, different ethnicities, ages, and career paths to share insights, resources, and advice that will help you navigate your professional career. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Verisalt, CMFI-NL, and BBI. Welcome to this episode of Mind the Gap. My name is Shakina and I'm your host on today's episode. And today we have a special guest, Sara Jafari. I'm so happy to have you here. And guys, you are in for some good treats. You're in for a good story time. You're in for, just stick around. That's just what I'm trying to say. Stick around because it's going to be a great conversation. So just to start off, I'm just going to get you to introduce yourself and what you do currently.
Thank you so much for having me here. Hello, everyone. I'm Sara Jafari. My job title is Community Sustainability Lead with Econext. In my work, I'm mainly focused on climate change mitigation and net zero community accelerator projects. But my background is in urban planning.
Those are big titles. They sound very serious. So tell me about how you ended up coming to Canada, because you are from Iran, right? What was the journey to Canada?
I think it's a very long story.
That's why we're here.
So I always knew that I wanted to come to Canada since I was a kid because I have a family in Canada. My brother moved to Canada over 30 years ago. So as a kid, I always wanted to follow his steps to be successful. But life turned out a little bit more different for me. So I started my university life in Iran and continued living there and working there. So I felt like this is time for me to pursue my dreams. So I need to do something for my dreams to be in Canada. But it was a very tough journey for me because right after I decided to come to Canada, COVID happened. So all plans has changed because I was thinking about coming here with PR through express entry. But because of COVID, I had to stop and I had to find another alternative ways to come to Canada, which studying here was one of those options.
So you came through a study permit.
I did some research. What can I do in Canada? So because of my background in urban planning and environment, and I also worked in environmental sector as a project assistant in big waste to energy projects in Iran. I was very into project management at that time. So I told myself doing MBA and pursuing project management would be a good option for me. So I did a lot of research. What should I do? I ended up coming to St. John's studying MBA in social enterprise and entrepreneurship at Memorial University. So before that, studying for English, studying for GRE was part of a journey and applying for universities, getting visa, and all international students know how this works and it takes a lot of time and effort to be here. And I came here in August 22.
That sounds like a very long progression to come into Canada. And so it sounds like you started from scratch, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So how did you integrate into Canada, starting school again? How was that for you? What were the challenges you faced? And how did you end up getting here where you're working at Econext? And what was that transition like for you?
I think every person's story is different. But for me, because I immigrated in older age than usual, in my 30s, it was a bit maybe more challenging because I had to face a lot of fears. I had to face imposter syndrome here because it was so hard for me, of course, to leave all the established life that I had there back home. I had 10 years of work experience there. I had a high-paying job at Turkish Embassy at that time. So it was a huge change for me and took a lot of courage to come out of my comfort zone. But it was mainly facing my fears and then finding myself here because as a woman and also a woman immigrant, coming from that background that I had, living in a country that women face a lot of challenges due to political and social challenges that we have there. Finding ourselves outside of that society and that pressure was a huge challenge. In some stages, I felt lost, to be very honest with everyone. And I think maybe most immigrants can face that. When you come to a new country and you want to find yourself, you have to go through a lot of stages and a lot of pressure. And all of a sudden, you would ask yourself, why I'm here? Why did I do that? Because did it worth it? You ask this question from yourself. But it's so important to go back to your authentic self and face the reality of life and ask the question that, what if I stayed there? What if I wouldn't come out of my comfort zone? What my life would look like? I ask a lot of questions from me that what I want to be here and what actually goals I want to achieve after coming here. It was challenging because of my age, my situation, my job, my background. I was facing a lot of anxiety and stress to find myself here because I was unconsciously comparing myself with younger generation and younger people who already established their life here. So at the beginning, I was really stressed out to find my way here because I started with a very intensive MBA. I had to do 17 courses in 2 semesters.
You just have to laugh.
I know it sounds crazy, but it was very challenging. And at that time,
it sounds extreme.
And I had to work part-time as well. And also a lot of challenges of integrating to the new culture here as well, learning a lot of new things, improving my interpersonal skills, and confronting with my imposter syndrome that many people can have that after immigration. And then a mandatory internship that I had to have during my MBA. So I really like to do that internship because it helped me to find my first full-time job after graduation.
I really commend you. You're very brave. You were here alone, right? Did you have any family or friends that you knew before you came?
No, actually, I came here alone.
When you talk about your journey from where you started, having to start over and where you are now, how do you feel about yourself right now? And what are the things that you are doing to actually be impactful?
I would say this is the closest version of me to the authentic me that I've experienced in my life so far. So I feel very connected to myself and my core and my values in my life. So I found helping others really helping me as well. It's not just helping others, it's even more helping me. What I've been doing other than, of course, excelling in my career and learning a lot of new things, because I felt like I need to be very adaptable and flexible in finding my career path here. I didn't know what should I do in Canada after during actually my study of MBA. But I knew I will do something related to environment. But I wasn't sure what actually I'm going to do. But as soon as I started my full-time work with Econex, I got a lot of support from my CEO, Kieran Henley. And we talked about how I can contribute to Econex's success. And we came up with ideas, and he always wanted someone who studied urban planning in his team. So my actually focus became more and more on climate change mitigation and net zero accelerator programs. And I'm so happy I'm working with communities, maybe a little bit less privileged communities who have very limited capacity to have a better cities and communities in rural areas in Newfoundland. So that's something that I really enjoy, because as part of urban planning that I've studied before, it's not just big cities, it also includes smaller cities and how we can empower people in smaller cities to prevent them to immigrate to bigger cities, right? So I'm happy I'm doing that and helping smaller communities in Newfoundland to be more sustainable and pursuing net zero goals in Canada in general. I've been learning a lot, and
You sound very well learned. You sound like you know a lot.
One of the things that actually really helped me was starting to work for the Environment and Sustainability Expert Panel of the City of St. John's. I'm one of the members of this panel now, and participating in those meetings and studying before the meetings and being included in those conversations really helped me to understand the concept of sustainability and environment in Newfoundland, specifically for the City of St. John's. I learned a lot, and I still continue learning. Other things that I've been doing to support others was supporting international graduate students so far. Before starting the actual volunteering work that I've been doing during my student life.
Oh, volunteering.
I do a lot of volunteering work as part of my belief in giving back to the community. Before even starting the actual volunteering work, I was helping other international students and sharing they always reach out to me on LinkedIn and other platforms to ask questions about how they can actually find careers here and how they can integrate, how they can network. So networking has been one of the biggest things part of this journey. As soon as I came to Canada, I realized networking is very important. So I started to do that. I leveraged LinkedIn and I went a lot of seminars, conferences, career fairs to connect to people and talk to people. So part of that is coming out of your comfort zone and being able to present yourself as a person who is confident enough to talk about your journey and your career and what you're looking for the future. And I've been learning a lot since connecting to people and talking to people. So I've been transferring all this to international graduates and how they can actually do that. One of the actually first things that after understanding that what is my call, which is helping others, my friend and I, we started a Telegram group for Iranian job seekers in that a little bit more than a year ago. And now we have around 400 members. And I try to share hidden job postings that normally they don't advertise on LinkedIn job section and on Indeed or other platforms. And also I try to give referrals and I try to review cover letters and resumes as much as I can as part of giving back to my own community as Iranians.
You do this for free?
Of course.
Wow.
As much as my time let me, actually. And I know that people are struggling here. They always ask me how we can find jobs here. Most of the time, there are international graduates, there are engineers, they are very capable, but they don't know where to start. They don't know how to start.
Exactly.
And most of the time, they are graduated and they don't have network here because they didn't know actually they should have started to do that in early stages in their school. So one of the things that I always emphasize is start your networking at the beginning. Get to know people. Send messages on LinkedIn. Try to contact to people because most of us, we want to help. But we can't help you without knowing that you are seeking help, right? So as part of this, I was actually searching on the internet to see what programs are available to support international graduates. And I came across a National Connector program. I was looking, how can I do that in Newfoundland? And all of a sudden I saw, oh my God, ML Youth and Family Center is doing that in Newfoundland. And I didn't know about this before. Before that, I was working with ANC and helping mostly refugees and newcomers as an interpreter. But with the Connector program, I was so excited that program is happening in Newfoundland. And I think it's a new thing. It started a few months ago in Newfoundland. So, and basically it's based on networking and connecting newcomers to professionals in Newfoundland. So I volunteered with that. I had an interview and I told them that I've been doing this for a very long time since coming here. And also very specifically for my own community. I'm really happy to see that there's such a good program that I can help more people. So I volunteered and started to work with them, with newcomers. They're all very fantastic, talented, hardworking people. Just started their career here. I meet them, I talk to them, I share my experience, and I try to connect them with professionals here in Newfoundland. Other than that, I'm a mentor for YSNL, Women in Science and STEM engineering programs. So I have 2 mentees now. I meet them and talk to them and just try to guide them in their career. Other than that, I do other volunteer work with ThriveNL, and I work sometimes with Career Office of Memorial University. They invite me to talk with newcomers, international graduates. I'm really happy I can do something.
You're doing a lot, actually. You're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. But I can tell that you have really found who you are. You know, like as you've been speaking, I've just been realizing that this is something that you do on a regular basis. You speak with people a lot. You offer a lot of information. And obviously being an immigrant as well, I've realized that there are quite a few resources here and there in Newfoundland. I think it's just about accessibility. And because a lot of people don't know that these things exist, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why we actually created this podcast, so that people can see or have this can be accessible to other immigrants, that there are resources out there. There are people that do want to help you, right? So I think that the work you're doing is so beautiful and is so necessary. And I'm just so grateful that you actually came, not just to the podcast, but came to Canada, because you are now standing in the gap for other Iranian people and other immigrants in general to find help, get the help that they need. A lot of things that I keep hearing people that are successful say is that they talk about networking a lot. They talk about finding who you are. They talk about LinkedIn, and these are actual tools. And I'm taking it. I've heard it a lot of times, but I'm definitely taking it from you again. And even to anybody listening, these are things that are really helpful. Networking, something that I learned from my own mentor, is that networking is about genuinely caring about people. It's not just you're not going to network just to get things out of somebody. You have to genuinely care, and it's a skill. You have to be interested in who you are speaking to. And ever since I understood that and started actually doing it, I realized that when you go to an event, it's not everybody that you have to speak to, but you are going to speak to some people. And if you relate with them, that is a connection that you've now made, right? That is a relationship you now have. So thank you so much for the information. We're going to be linking some of the resources you mentioned in show notes. So thank you so much for that. So just the last thing is, we have this thing that we do, and it's called Rapid 3. So I'm just going to ask you 3 questions, and just give me the answers that come to the top of your head, okay?
Okay.
Ready? All right. So what is the best advice someone has ever given you?
Oh my God, that's a very tricky question. Actually, the best advice came from my professor, Tom Cooper. When I was doing my MBA, I was anxious a little bit at that time. And I was talking to him constantly, teach me something that I can really use to find a job here. And he was always laughing at me. And at that time, I of course, was suffering from imposter syndrome. And he was one of the first people who saw the actual me, the person that I am as a capable and talented and hardworking. His feedback for me was invaluable in my career journey. I always say he's my all-time mentor, motivator, and believer. His advice was like, you can do it. Just no doubt. Don't doubt in yourself.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And it was very simple. It wasn't a huge thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes we need someone to remind us what you have actually and who you are. That was one of the things that I learned from him, to be a mirror to people, to show them the actual talent or person that they are, to actually push them and motivate them in their journey. That's one of the things that I've been doing in my mentoring and being in the Connector program. I'm just trying to listen to them and mirroring them. And it's not just about sharing my experience, it's just showing them who they are.
Beautiful. You can do it. So next question, what is the worst advice you've ever received from someone?
Oh, wow. It's so hard to answer this question.
I know.
No.
Just have to think about the first thing that comes to your mind.
It's so hard. Before coming to Canada, some people told me, just stay away from your own community. It can be very tricky, but I don't believe that I should do that. Of course, there are some people in general who can be, because of their own challenges, they can be a little bit jealous or they won't want to help others. It's very personal preference, but I always believed in good in people. So when you approach with kindness and care and support to others, you always will receive that.
Yep.
And I believed in that. So I didn't believe in that advice. I came here in believing in that I should help my own community. I should be connected to my community. I should have some friends from my own community.
Yep.
And it's not about my own community. It's about we are all human and we want to be in contact with each other. It's about feeling belonging. You belong to your own community and also you belong to the whole community as humanity, right?
100%
So
agree.
I'm glad I didn't take that advice.
So last question, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say start to be kind to yourself more from a younger age. Because as part of being a perfectionist person, I was very hard on myself a lot when I was younger. I put a lot of pressure on me and that created a lot of maybe chaos for me in my personal life. I wasn't satisfied about myself or what I was doing. But as part of finding myself journey, especially after immigration, I had a training in self-love. And I learned I really need to be kind to myself and embrace myself, even my demons, even my negative sides. Because I believe if you're not really kind to yourself, how can you be kind and caring to others authentically? It's going to be based on need and it's going to be based on people pleasing if you're kind. So I try to be more kind to myself and understanding and embracing my inner child. So if I would go back 10 years ago, I would say, just try to love yourself more.
I feel that.
That's great.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Mind the Gap. We were so happy to have you, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It was such a beautiful story. I had such a beautiful conversation. Like you're such a beautiful human being. And for everybody watching, you can do it. There are just some things in life I'm learning you have to take by force. So own your growth, own your life, and you can do it. So we are signing out now. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. See you on the next one.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Mind the Gap. I hope you had a great time with us. All the resources from this episode will be linked in the show notes. And please follow us on all our social media handles. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who needs it. Until next time, bye!